is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Weekend Media Podcast. I am Jordan. I have my co-host here again with me, Brian Netflix Garcia Tirado. And then with us today, we have the two people that weren't with us last time that I said that I would introduce this time. That is Isaac Godinez and Jose, who I can't pronounce his last name. So, wait, Jose, how do you pronounce your last name?
Valenzuela. It's almost like the
I'm
country, so I'll give you that one.
Yeah, and that's what I've been telling everyone. I was like, hey, go talk to Jose Venezuela. He's right over there. Everything will be cool. Don't worry about it. But hey, guys, it is great having you here with us today. Yeah, I would say that it felt like a little something was missing without you guys here last time, but really there wasn't. We had Brian and I had good chemistry. I feel like camera quality was a little off since Jose wasn't here, and Isaac. There was a piece missing from Brian that you weren't there. He kept grabbing a wrench, feeling like he needed to work on something. Otherwise, we get mad at him. But other than that, everything was good. Of course, I joke. We all help each other out at the track. Jose has been a part of this group with us for probably about a year now. I've known Isaac the longest out of all four of us. Isaac, as I said in the last podcast, is a pro-am drifter. He is sponsored by companies like CJ Pony Parts, K&N Filters, Status Seats. I mean, this dude's racking up a list, and he hasn't even done his first full competition yet. Because that's just kind of the energy that Isaac brings to what he does and being part of this industry and knowing the people that he does, which is fantastic. Jose works at the dealership level and he does the media content for Red McCombs West over in San Antonio. But you know what? I'm not alone in being part of RTR in a sense because Isaac, you're an RTR owner. So like, tell me, I don't want to make this about RTR, but what is it that got you into the industry that led to RTR, that led to you and I meeting?
Honestly, it's the looks of the car. Like back when I was 15, I played Forza. I saw the Drift RTR Spec 5D in there, and I just fell in love instantly. Like I was like, this car looks insane to me. One day I will own one, and I had a whole bunch of naysayers telling me I would never own one, and here I am owning one. So
So then how did you take that love of drifting and then move it into actually doing it? Because I know a lot of people who love watching the sport, but they don't actually start going out there and doing it. So what was it that made you want to grab the keys to a Mustang and hop out there and actually start drifting it?
originally, I always just drifted on Xbox, and
Hmm.
I like it. But then I was like, you know what? I want to see what this is like. And then in 2020, they had the Optima battery car show in over here at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, I was there. You don't remember me, but I was
I
there.
don't even
I
think
saw
I
your
saw
car there
you.
that day.
I don't even think I saw you. I met Jeremy, and that's pretty much it. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
really talk to anybody. I was still super awkward more than I am right now. Like, it was just one of those things where it's like I wanted to show off my car, show my love for RTR, and then whenever I told Vaughn, hey, look, I got this RTR. It's number 244 out of the 500 you made of the Series 1. He's like, bring it on over. I'm going to sign it.
So that connection there that you made with Vaughn made you want to go out there and like
Yeah.
pursue that dream?
Yeah, just seeing how humble he is and how good of a driver he is. It
That
just made me want to do that.
That's cool, and I get my hat is off to you because there are people like you who found that passion early on, whereas I dipped my toe in and out of it for years and didn't chase my dream like you have until I was in my 30s. But I mean, if we're talking about dream chasers here, we got to talk about our boy Flicks. All right, not only were you on Netflix, you've been part of the
Man, always in the cars, just like all of us here in this group. And what happened was I left active duty military to become a pilot. I wanted to fly Blackhawks and Chinooks, but I was medically disqualified. And that led to spending a summer cooped up in an apartment watching Ultimate Streetcar on TV. Now, at the time, my Challenger was purchased by my wife and my mother in law when I was overseas. So when I got out of the military, I just wasn't using the car. I had my 2500. The car was parked in a corner in the apartment complex underneath the car cover. So as I'm sitting in the summer watching these people build these muscle cars that can handle, I was very naive. And I said, I could do that. So what did I do? I didn't go to autocross. I didn't go to an HPDE day. I didn't even get driving lessons. I jumped on the internet and I purchased my membership for Ultimate Streetcar Association, and I put it looked like $500 on the New Orleans race event 2019. I was like, this will give me some time to get a race suit, a helmet, gloves, do some stuff to the car, and that's how I got into it essentially. But I've always been into pro touring and resto mods, so when I saw that people were doing it with like modern muscle cars, it really called to me. But what I really wanted to do was like Isaac. That was 2019. I said, yeah, was I wanted to get into drifting in 2012. I went to my first FD because they had a cardboard cutout of Vaughn holding a Monster Energy can at the PX on post, which is like a gas station. So I'm new to Texas. I'm a private in the military. I got nothing to do. And they're like, yeah, RTR, Monster Energy, Vaughn Getting Jr. is coming to put on a smoke show at the PX on Sunday. And I was like, right on, I'm going to do that. Guess what happened? They said, Garcia, you got gate guard on Sunday. I was like, damn, you got no rank, you got no pool. So I was like, okay, well, that kind of sucks. But like, I was still interested, so I kept looking into it, and I found out that FD Texas was going on. So I told all
Yep,
my
out in
boys,
Motor
I'm like,
City, Dallas.
yeah, Fort Worth, and I was like, hey, this drifting thing, it's like a rolling circus, right? Like they're in Texas right now. Let's go watch it. Had no idea it was a professional like racing series, right? So we go up there. We get there for top 16, right? We missed 32. So we get there right at halftime. And as the story goes, there's a guy behind me, and he's like, yeah, me and Vaughn, me and Vaughn, me and Vaughn. And I'm like, man, does this guy know this Vaughn Getting Jr. guy? Because again, I didn't really know him, right? But I saw a Ford Mustang going sideways. So I was like, hey, so you're friends with him? And he's like, yeah. I was like, so you guys are going to go to Fort Hood tomorrow? Now Fort Cavazos. And he's like, yeah, we love doing the smoke show for the soldiers. It's a great time. And I'm like, well, I'm here because they put me on gate guard. I'm a soldier. And he's like, do you want to go meet him? And I'm like, yes. So he took me to the trailer. And that's when I first met Vaughn, 2012. So doing all that, doing corporate America, graduating college, I realized that, like you said, threw caution to the wind. I said, I know what I want to do, and it's not what I was doing. So I looked at my assets, I took a great inventory, and I made the leap, and I'll just create content around drifting, building the Mustang, and hanging out with the boys.
And you were the one who connected us with Jose because I didn't know Jose. And we briefly kind of touched on this in the last podcast episode where I came up with the name, but you came up with the premise of getting us all together. And you said, hey, I got a buddy of mine, Jose. I want to bring him in. Trust me, you're going to love him. I was a little apprehensive because I was like, okay, I already met you, and I'm not sure how I feel about you. Now you're bringing in Jose.
Hey,
So
Jose,
Jose, how do you know Flicks?
So I know Flicks because we went to college together. Yeah, Texas State. So we were part of the mass communications program, and we didn't really talk much during college. But it was up until that we both got a job in the dealership level that Brian reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you want to like come and hang out at this car show that we're hosting here at the dealership, Leaf Johnson Ford?" And then I went over there, and dude, he was running a fever. So he was not feeling all that well that day.
yeah,
So I was like, hey, where's Brian? And then everybody's like, oh yeah, he's gone. And I was like, oh, okay. But we talked briefly like right beforehand. But dude was like fevered out, like 103-degree fever. And I was like, hopefully
STDs will do that to you, man. Coming down.
it was a spring car show, so it's cold outside. So I'm like shivering, and I'm like, we're hosting this car show. We've got Helibad out there. We got Texas Bronkbuster. We've got San Antonio people showing up, and I'm here trying to situate everybody. And I'm like, why am I shivering so much? And I knew he was coming, and we link up and we start talking. And finally, I was like, I really don't feel good. So I left, and when I got home, I ran my temperature. I was at 103. And I was like, I started laughing. I was like, well, no wonder I feel like crap. This whole time.
I mean, to be fair, your body doesn't start shutting down until after 103. So to me, you kind of punked out. But you know what? As much as I will say that the idea of weekend media coming together is very very solid in its idea of just getting a bunch of guys together who have a common love. You know, you used to hear donut media at the end like, hey, just pick up a camera, go have fun with your friends, and we truly did that. But I feel like the true ace of all of this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, and it's going to be recorded for everyone to hear for until the internet burns down because of whatever. It We kind of owe this all to Isaac because Isaac connected myself to Flix, who then brought in Jose, and that's how this all came down. So then, Isaac, how do you know Garcia Tirado?
So what was it? A couple years ago, he invited me to the Leaf Johnson car show that they did, and he's like, "Hey man, I love your car." But he reached out to me through the Leaf Johnson page, so I didn't know it was him
Oh,
until
hopped
I
in your DMs. Gotcha.
yeah. And he's like, I love your car, this and that. Like, I'd like to interview you at the car show. I was like, all right, let's do it. So then I show up, but the funny thing is, I actually bought my car at that dealership.
Okay.
Time out. That's not what you said. He actually told me. He said I'm kind of awkward on camera.
Man, shut up, man. But yeah,
That's
Still
what
is.
I
he
did say
Still
that.
is.
said. He
I
did not
still
say
am,
yeah.
very much so.
He wasn't that alpha. He said no, bro. I'm kind of awkward on camera. I was like, no, like you're. It's gonna be great. Like I got to get this car on camera. I got to hear the story, right? All right, go on.
So you met him there at that car show. He slid into your DMs. You felt he was a little spicy. You wanted to taste the caliente. But so I got to ask then, what was it that made you bring him to me along with Antonio? Because you made that introduction between us at SEMA the
Yeah.
year that we were there with Gear Wrench building the car. So what made you want to do that?
So I think we were there. We were taking I went out to us. Yeah, I ran outside to get a picture of the Maverick for a thumbnail. I came back in. I think it was before this. And then I was talking to Brian, and we were talking about the RTRs, and I was like, "Well, I know a couple of the guys over there. I can go take you over there and talk to them if you guys would like." And him and Antonio were like, "Yeah, sure."
Okay, here I thought it was some big thought out plan that Isaac's like, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna introduce these guys. They're gonna start wanting to sponsor me and my car. It would just happen to be happenstance. Sounds to me like Brian, you were fangirling because you wanted to meet myself, maybe Vaughn, whoever, and that's kind of what that led to.
Well, I was there in a professional capacity. I was finishing all the media for the SEMA Maverick at Toyo Tread Pass. That's why I was literally to finish the video. Like I finished it that morning, recording it. So then I inserted the clips, and I was rendering and uploading it on the SEMA floor. I was literally sitting on the floor next to a wall outlet, and I was like, "Oh no, I need a thumbnail." And that's when I asked him for the thumbnail, and I told him, "You don't have to wait for me because I'm going to be here for a while." The internet was so bad. I uploaded the video off my cell phone Wi-Fi. It took forever, so I was like, yeah, you don't got to wait for me. So at the same time, Antonio is busy on the show floor looking for new partners for the performance side of Leaf Johnson, which is Leaf Johnson's specialty vehicles. So supercharger kits, procharger kits, whatever it may be, suspension, RTR, Celine vehicles. So he was always looking for the next thing. So then when Isaac came back and said, hey, I can introduce you to the RTR guys, we said, okay, like let's see what's there,
Yeah.
let's see what's going to go on, and that's where it all began.
And outside of just RTR, it seems like the common thread for all of us has either been the dealership at some level, but truly comes down to media content, content creation. As you and I like to call ourselves, Flicks, is we're content creators. Isaac calls himself an influencer. Jose calls himself the Don Juan of the camera industry, but it is what it is. So I know I myself, I started off in college. I went for acting. I was at the time I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I wanted to hone my acting skills, which then turned into kind of a love for film and theater. So then I changed my major into uh, communications with an emphasis on media studies. So I had been, woo, so I had been filming and learning cameras and behind the scenes of everything, which got me into media creation. Now, Jose did you go to college for media along with Brian, or what were you guys doing when you were in college?
So Brian, I think you were doing multi. What was your degree in? It was not. I went for electronic media and journalism essentially. So broadcast media. So like all the writing, the being on TV stuff, production wise. Brian, I know you had a different. Uh,
Yeah, I went for digital media innovation, which was a heavier focus on social media, and then a minor in marketing. So I actually took quite a few more marketing classes because I'm already really good at writing and the filming, editing, like photography side. I really wanted to get more into the marketing side of it.
Okay, and Jose, what was your reason for going into that? What were you planning on focusing on, or did you have an idea, or was it just really a passion?
Originally, it started within my college, not college, my high school AV production class. Shout out to Mr. Garcia. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but shout out to you. Because, oh, shoot. All right. So, funny enough that you mentioned wrestling, because that was our, like, big end of year, like, I guess, project, if you will. And he sent us out, and I just fell in love with, like, the going out to the field, getting like interviews, recording, piecing the puzzle together. And later on, some of my friends were like, "Hey, I got this car that I just got. It's like a 2015 EcoBoost, whatever, like car." They'll be like, "Hey, can you yeah, give me some photos of it?" And then from then on, it just escalated, and it from the hobby became like a career in this sense.
So Isaac, then you've taken a different path. You kind of picked up a camera and just started chasing the dream. I've seen you all over the country, and when I tell people I've seen Isaac all over the country, I am not lying. I have seen him in Vegas for SEMA. We have been together at Irwindale. We have been together at Holly Ford Fest in Kentucky or Tennessee. You know, it's like I feel like there's been so many different places where you and I have connected over the years because you're traveling and chasing that dream. So were you was this your way into the automotive world? Did you like photography prior to this? Like what made you pick up the camera and then go down this path that led to all of us?
At first, I hated photography. I will be honest. I hated photography. I
You don't have a
couldn't get
face for
pictures.
camera, that's why.
Well, no, even getting pictures of other things. Like I could never get a good shot, in my opinion, of a car. Like I'll look up some pictures that I have from way back in the day. My pictures were horrible. Like I hated it. Like I couldn't get the right angles. And then eventually I started getting. I stopped for a while. I stopped and I just left it. And then I was like, you know what? I'll pick up the camera back in 2020 at the Optum event. I picked it up, started taking pictures. And so ever since then, I just started getting more pictures, starting getting more into it, really enjoying it after I got the right lens. And then, like you said, I've traveled. I've gone to Atlanta for Formula Drift twice, made my little 3 hour road trip from Atlanta to North Carolina to the RTR, to the lab to get pictures of my car and some of my other buddies' cars in front of the lab.
Yeah, dude, you've literally been everywhere. I mean, if RTR has been there, if there's been an automotive drifting event, I feel like you have been there, and it's really how do you feel like that has helped you advance in what you're doing now?
The way that I'm awkward on camera, but in person I'm still awkward, but I'm good at talking to people.
Yeah,
Like I'm better at talking to people off camera than I am on camera.
so it's kind of been your icebreaker.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
like people ask me which one's been my craziest road trip or my furthest road trip. I'd say the one from South Carolina for Mustang Week all the way to Formula Drift Utah. And that took me a whole week to drive through.
Yeah, that's because you're driving too slow. That's why. I mean, people are out there doing New York to Los Angeles in 24 hours. Isaac, come on now, come on. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you were somebody who, again, much like all of us, is following that dream out there. And I feel like it's important to, talk about the social media aspect of this because one, it brought all of us together, and it's why a lot of people are into what we do now, not just us in general, but the automotive world is the connection through social media. I'm a little bit older than you guys. Isaac, how old are you? You just turned 25,
I
right?
just turned 25 November 4th, yes.
Okay, and then Jose, you're in your late 20s, right? 29?
27. I'm not that late.
27, okay. Okay, Jesus Christ. And then Flex, how old are you? You're 30s?
I'm turning 33 next month.
Okay, so and I'm 10 years older than you. I'm 43. So when I first got into automotive, it was looking at the option videos. You know, you hear guys like Vaughn and Forsberg and all these people talk about how that's how they found out about drifting. It was the same way for me. I was picking up the magazines. I did have a group of people around me in my family that were really, really into cars, but I wanted to be slightly different. So that's how I got into the imports. But in terms of being able to stay current, I mean, you were buying the magazines when they dropped on their Tuesdays or their Thursdays or whenever. You were trading videos with people and then eventually CDs, and that's how you were finding out about it. So for me, the first time I heard about Vaughn, it was through a magazine, and then meeting him at a drift event when I was there. To you fast forward to where we are today, that somebody who has never heard of Vaughn Gittin Jr. in their entire life can go to an event, see him, snap a picture, upload it to Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, wherever, and then it's there for the whole world to see. And then that is creating the next generation. So the advancements in all this are wild. And one thing that we talk about at RTR all the time, and I bring this up because this is what I know, again, not trying to promote RTR, but is we're really a social media company that does kick-ass racing and just dominates in that field as well. But that's how you get this out. And for us, we all have this need within social media, whether it's, you know, Jose trying to make sure that he's getting the clicks so people come into the dealership and see what they have to offer. Whether it's Flicks, you're out there showing people what your friends at Helibad can do, what RTR vehicles can do, you know, what's going on in the automotive world in general, or for someone like Isaac, who is a pro-am drifter trying to get his name out there, trying to get sponsors, and is able to show these sponsors what he can do in real time by sending them these videos. It completely changes the game for how we approach things, and has really become pivotal for all of us. I mean, we have talked, myself and Brian, multiple times about the influence that the boys from Top Gear that later became Grand Tour have had on our group in general. So, like, for you, Brian, looking at now, we all know that Grand Tour is ended. And we have other people that are out here in this space running it solo. For you, what makes it so important for you to build this community around not just the four of us, but to be able to share it with the rest of the world? How do you see that being so important to the automotive industry and what we do?
Man, it's the to me, it's the next generation. I mean, I can remember watching Top Gear when I was really young, like still on cable television in my parents' house, and then transition into adulthood. For me, that next big wave. Again, I grew up in an automotive household. The next big wave was the Roadkill guys, which we just heard that after 13 seasons, they're no longer going to be doing that. But that influenced me again, still in my early adult age, right? So now, as I'm looking at the landscape, it's like the Hoonigan thing kind of died out. Top Gear's kind of died out. They Roadkill, is no longer. Now all those creators are still creating content. But what I loved about all the channels I'm talking about is the boys getting together, cannonballing, right, from one state to another in a jalopy in these cars that we're so passionate about. But when you really look at them, they're kind of piles of crap. So that to me is like, I want to continue to see that. Just that what do we call it? That feel good content of like, we're literally just doing this because we love it. If the camera wasn't
Yeah.
here, we would still be doing it, right? So I always say that, like, all the cars I have and all the stuff I do with or without the camera, I'm doing it, right? So I think I've shown you guys some of the other cars I've built, that there's just like a couple photos on Facebook or Instagram because I wasn't documenting it back then. I was just doing it because it's what I love. So to me, that's what's important. It's about showing the next generation, but also showing them that you don't need to spend $200,000 to do a YouTube build, right? You can get a pretty simple car, still have fun, get out there with your friends, and go on the adventure. So that's what's important for me to continue to keep that going.
And much like you, I was doing all this before I picked up a camera. And then one day I was just like, hey, you know what? Other people struggle with some of the same stuff that I do. And that's what caused me to create what used to be Grassroots Self-Service Garage, which is now J-Dub Wrenching. But like, I had done my drift build completely away from the camera. I had done my RX-7 with the LS swap completely away from the camera, but it was always with my friends. And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. And if you look at what made Donut and Hoonigan great, is the people there and how they got along. And then when it started becoming too corporate, you started to see that separation where the fun wasn't there anymore. And that is what I think is important for people to understand, is that it's not just about clicks. What it's about is having fun with your friends. And what we're doing is just showing, hey, we're still just four guys that are out here having fun. Whether you pick up a camera, you're picking up a wrench, go and have fun, because all four of us are out there creating media together, which is fun. We're out there having fun racing cars, which is kick ass. We're going to race events and having fun there, but it's just the boys going out and having fun. And this applies to the girls out there too. Blended groups, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Get canceled. Don't get us canceled for episode 2.
yeah, I'm not getting us canceled. I was stopping right there. I cut myself off. But you know, it's just a good time out there with the boys, which is why I feel like right now is a good time to thank today's supporter, Manhood. Now, in this season, it can be hard to really tie into your manhood. But out there, whether you're picking up a wrench or picking up a camera, tie back into what it feels like to be a man. So this holiday season, we are giving you the chance to get 20% off of Manhood by using our code WeekendMedia. And if you order within the next 24 hours, you will get a complimentary purse for you to store your manhood in for your wife to carry it around. Again, that code is Weekend Media for 20% off of Manhood. Now back into the action.
Hey, time out.
So,
Isaac, make sure to place 2 orders, buddy. Okay, you need 2 orders. Okay.
yeah. And if you need, have the fiance place another order for you as well. That way you can double down, get 2 purses.
Just
It's fantastic. But again, thank you to Manhood. Um, but so we talked about this in the last podcast, myself and Brian, and I kind of want to bring you guys into the conversation as well. Is one thing that happens is, you know, I think Brian, you hit the nail on the head, is that you don't have to do $200,000 build. This is one of the things that you and I have been back and forth on about your drift build, but I understand why you did your build the way that you did, but it's not in that realm. Okay. It's not in that $200,000 realm, but it's just knowing that you don't have to do it for the clicks, that you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it whether the camera's there or not. Now, if you're building your brand off of this, then there's another layer to that, and that's how you start getting into the bigger builds for a lot of people. But I feel like there's so many people right now that get caught up in the clicks that it starts to wash away who they are. I've met multiple people who now consider themselves influencers that I thought they were really cool people and they were great within this industry, but then they started chasing the click and who knows who, and it started to wash away and they weren't natural anymore. And that's one thing that I like about doing all of this media and doing the stuff that we do as a group, is that we're not chasing the clicks. I mean, my YouTube channel, J-Dub Wrenching, only has 300 something followers. My or J-Dub Racing, and then the other one has like 1,500. You guys all have more followers than me on all platforms, but that doesn't affect what I do. So like, my question would probably be best for Jose, and maybe we can hop over to Brian and Isaac here in a second, but you being at the dealership, you are chasing the clicks. So my question is, how have you been able to keep your content so natural in a dealership setting without making it feel over salesy?
Ooh, that was a great thing. So like, gotten a couple pointers from again Brian. Shout out to you, bro. Don't try. I can't control what the people want, so it's given what the people want essentially. So if people are more enticed to look at Broncos, then I'll just make more fun memes with Broncos. If they want to see more Mustangs, then I'll just make more Mustang stuff.
And I think I think part of what helps you, which I've seen other people that are in the dealership world that aren't car people take over accounts and try to do what other people have done, and they absolutely are not hitting the mark. But you are a person who you are a car person, but you're not. And this is in no disrespect whatsoever, but you're not a car person in the way that maybe myself or Flix or Isaac are. You know, we're kind of leading you down this dark path of automotive racing and whatnot. So you're just getting into it. So you're seeing it with rose colored glasses, and you're almost through your lens is you're learning with the people instead of just telling them, hey, you want this because it's got dual climate control. No, you're saying, hey, I just found this out. This is super sick and I want to share it with you guys. And I think that's what helps you do it. You do have trends that you follow and whatnot, but you're not just trying to find a way to fit your stuff into it. All your stuff is very natural, which is again what helps out so much. Here's the thing too, you are the majority of the automotive market. Not everybody is going out there and rally crossing their GR Corolla. Not everybody's going and buying their Mustang and driving it, 15,000 miles around the country or, whatever it may be. So you're a good representation of the majority of the people that will be out there in the market. And staying within that dealership world, Brian, you were able to do great things at your dealership with content, but you did it from the standpoint of someone who's in the automotive industry, who has done the racing, who has done this other stuff that is appealing to that performance market, but you're also a family guy who appeals to and knows what people need on the daily. So what was that balance like?
Yeah, so when I first started, um, it was kind of the same thing you mentioned earlier: how to get clicks, how to get likes, that kind of thing. So there's only one answer: bangers. What's a banging track that's trending? Even if I don't like the music, is it trending? Is it a banger? How can I attach a banger to a banger vehicle? So I can't attach an 808 beat to a Ford Escape. Well, wait a minute, maybe I can, right? That's where you start like twisting the idea. It doesn't always have to be a Mustang, a Shelby, a GT500, but that's where I started. So what I did was I wanted to appeal to a certain demographic from like 18 to like 32 in the beginning. So the first thing I started doing was posting all the drift content coming from RTR, like as it was happening on the drift event. So if they were competing in Utah for that weekend, I'm reposting stories and I'm reposting clips from FD Utah only from the RTR drift team for the Mustangs. Then when it came down to like the family side of it, I'm talking camping, I'm talking road trips, I'm talking summer. I would shift into Bronco Sport, Expedition, Escape, Explorer, Timberline, because we're like talking adventure. Get out of the city, get on the lake, get on the river. We live, Lake Austin, get a paddleboard, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I did it. That's kind of the route I went, was the sense of adventure, um, a niche of like drifting and cool cars, um, and that's basically it. And once you realize that all those different pockets are all niches, Bronco's a niche, but so is Bronco Sport. So is Escape, and Explorer has a big following, right? And then Ford Mustang, we all know, has a humongous following. So how can I learn to talk to all those different groups of people on one page? The next thing I did, so Jose, this might be good for you, is I try to become the mayor of my own backyard. Anybody watching this can apply this. So I would look for hashtag Austin and then try to find automotive content and interact in the comments with those people with a business account. So that is the route I took. So once you post, the job's not done. Now I'm replying to my comments, I'm reposting things, and I'm having conversations on a bunch of other pages. So whether it's Bronco Sport, Explorer, Expedition, King Ranch itself is a whole nother niche of people. There's people that won't drive anything but a King Ranch. So that's kind of how I did it.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. And Brian, you kind of touched on it in the last podcast, is that part of why this started too is just the ease of being able to capture content together as a group. Because if Isaac is out there driving, he doesn't need to be worrying about capturing this content that he does need for his sponsors or potential sponsor, he needs to focus on driving and having fun and bringing that energy. If you look at the RTR vehicles team, the Fun Haver team, we have a crew of people that go out there with us, 1 to 6 people at any given time. Plus, we sometimes utilize teams like Larry Chen that capture content for us as well, because the focus of a driver needs to be to drive. And then if you're out there, Brian, and you're now learning how to drift, the last thing you need to be thinking about is, are the angles right on this camera? Should I get another shot from over here? You need to be focused on learning your craft. So that has definitely come in handy by having us together. And if you're a person that wants to get into media, but you also want to be a driver, make friends with the other camera people around you. That's how a lot of us have done stuff. And like Isaac touched on there, that he's gotten people to send him clips of himself, because again, we're not always at every event. We try to go to as many events as we can, but it helps to make friends within the community that can pass that stuff along to you. I've had that happen in the rallycross world with myself as well. But the big thing too that I like that Isaac you said was, you want to show people that they can go out there and do it too. And we saw this, Isaac, you and I, at High Fort Fest when people were looking at doing the autocross during the RTR vehicles experience. So many people were nervous, including yourself, which is odd because you throw your car at 80 miles an hour at a wall, no problem. But so many people were nervous. So many people were nervous about getting out there and doing this in their car that they didn't even take that leap. And we're going out there with our content, and hopefully anybody who's listening to this that creates content can use this as well, is to show people, hey, come out to these events, do this, have fun, come and meet us, not because we think that we're influencers, but because we want to build this community. And there's so many racetracks that are closing down now, and so many spots that are used for autocrosses that aren't letting people come back because the attendance just isn't there, which sucks. And I hope that we can do a little bit to help bring people back. I did a video on my channel about why you should go out rally crossing. It's so much fun, and I want so many more people to go out there and do this. And, Jose, you're a person that you pick up the camera more than you pick up the steering wheel, but I see it in your eye. You kind of want to hop in there, get into the mix. So, like, what is it about your time spent with the three of us that has really made you now consider wanting to go and do this?
It's the adrenaline, the ability to just get a car. It doesn't have to be like a fancy car either. Literally just a bone stock, whatever. Like for your example, Jordan, you literally took your fresh GR Corolla out to Rallycross, literally like 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
So that was very that it didn't really have to be like a fancy built car like Isaac's, Brian's, or anything else. It was just, dude, just go out there.
I want to interrupt you right there. My car's not fancy.
Says the guy with the sponsors on the side of his liveried car. My car's not fancy. Neither was my
The,
other drift car, the drift
the
car
way
shell that I have. None of that's fancy. Can we see your brand new F450 sitting in the background?
That
Yeah,
is it.
sure. Nothing about you is fancy.
talking about the car itself, sir.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I don't know if next time we do one of these, for people who are watching on YouTube, if Isaac, you might want to find another spot to do it, because we can only see one of your 7 houses that you have on your plot of land there.
Next time, I'm just gonna make sure I get one of them big old lifts that they have at construction sites, and just use that.
I know something big old you can put in this video next time. So I really like the grassroots side of things, because working at RTR and going to all these events, or even the Red Bull event that I worked at with you guys, mainly Brian, you had invited me out to that, is you have so many people who want to get out there and get next to a big name, or feel like they need to hop in next to Vaughn Gittin Jr. or James Dean or whoever that may be to really experience what it's like to do this. But a lot of times you can go to your local events and hop in a car with someone. You can come out to any of the Lone Star Rallycross events in Austin and hop in a car with myself or the other drivers. In most cases, you can go to one of these events like Dreamers of Drift, sign a waiver. You can hop in the passenger seat with somebody like Isaac, or if you don't want to have a good time, you can hop in there with Garcia. But there's
If you guys love
you
spinning
can
out,
really get in there and experience it. And for most people, the chances of you hopping in a car with a Chelsea Denoful or a Frederick Osbel are very, very limited. But you got a chance to go out there and still have fun with somebody who's still learning that has the time to afterwards talk to you about it and give you these pointers. But I will say, taking a step back from that comment, Vaughn, James, Ben, great guys. Even Chelsea is a fantastic person that will give you pointers. But when you're in a setting like that, it's very limited. So you only have so much time. Whereas you can go out to an event with any of the four of us, or even if we're not there, go to another event, another autocross or what have you. And you can talk to these people and you can learn what it's like, the true cost of getting involved in it. And I would say to anybody, go out and talk to the newest person there and ask them how their first day is. Because you can go and talk to the grizzled veteran. Sometimes they're going to be the person that wants you to show up and keep what they're doing going. Or you might accidentally grab onto the person that is tired of all the new people coming and stealing their track time. But truly just go out there and experience it and talk to the people and make friends. And if you're a person who's into social media the way that we have been into it, bring your camera. And I touched on this in our last podcast, is if you are someone who wants to get into social media, or if you're someone who wants to get into content creation, whether it's at a dealership, for yourself, for a big company, go and find the little guy. Go out there and find the Brian Garcia Tirados. Go out there and find the Isaac Godinez's and say, hey, you know what? I love what you're doing. Can I slap a GoPro on your car? Can I get an interview with you real quick? And then do that and help them. Because like we said, you're going to need it. And then you can use that to build your portfolio.
dude, you know
Because,
what? I
yeah,
want to circle it back to you saying go to your local autocross. You don't need a $1 million race car to get into it. I think a lot of it
yeah,
too is just admitting to yourself like, hey, you're not going to be the best when you first get out there. We all know we want to go out there and be the absolute best. I just told you I signed up for Ultimate Streetcar with zero autocross experience. Went to my first autocross, and listen, when you're driving a bone stock SRT8 with with rubber band tires, not even the right tires, not the right tire pressures, and a fat Loki cam, this car was designed to go straight. Your boy was spinning out at almost every turn. I was understeering straight into oversteering, and I got one compliment. One compliment from one of the driving instructors was, "Hey, you have really good control when you're driving with the ass end." I was like, "Thank you." He's like, "But this isn't that," and I said, "Oh, right." He was like, "Hey, you're good. You suck though." And I think a lot of it is people are they don't want to feel embarrassed. And I will tell you, my first autocross experiences, people were mean to me. People were like, "What are you doing here with that car? That car doesn't belong here." And I would smile and say, like, "Dog, yes it does, because I've seen these cars on TV, these big muscle cars, and they can do it, so I can do it." And it can be slightly toxic because it was for me at certain points, right? But I think a lot of it is like people don't want to feel embarrassed. Like you want to go out there already being good. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I experienced it when we went drifting because I'm that guy.
yeah,
I got a full livery. I got an angle kit, bro. I can't drive it. But then I realized something. Everybody there is willing to help me, and nobody is looking at me because
yep.
everybody's focused on their own thing. But everybody willing to help is the magical thing. So yeah, there's always that one person who's toxic, but no one's looking at you. Don't be scared. Just get out there and do it.
Yeah, and I've been there for some of your drift events, and I know in your brain, with the experience that you've had elsewhere, you still wanted to be so good, and that was getting in your head and causing you to make little mistakes. The basis was there. You just needed to allow yourself to learn, and that whether it's social media, whether it's driving, I've done kickboxing, jujitsu, all of this stuff. Regardless of what you are pursuing in life, allow yourself to step away from yourself, leave any ego or any fear and doubt at the door, and allow yourself to just learn. It's we all have kids. Isaac, you don't. You let yours get flushed down the toilet, but eventually you'll have some. So what I would say is like just kind of look at your kids or look at your brothers or sisters and just look at how those kids just are there to learn and enjoy everything they do, and they're not worried about what other people think of them. And that's kind of what you need to do, is get in touch with that to allow you to be able to succeed, is take a step away from yourself and do it. And just be, and if you're going to go in there with a full livery on your car and a camera crew behind you, just have fun with
Just
it and make
own
a
it,
joke out of
bro.
it, and then people can see. If you go in there saying, "Hey, I'm an influencer. Excuse me, if you could step away from my pit, please. Autograph sessions will be at 4." Then of course people are going to treat you like shit.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of have fun with it, when we went to my very first rallycross, the only experience I had behind the wheel of a car like that was the Red Bull event that we had went to.
Right.
And then I go out and I buy a brand new GR Corolla that I tow into this event on the back of my Ford Raptor, and I have 3 guys follow me around with cameras. It's like, okay, I kind of look like a piece of shit right now. So let's just go ahead and make fun of the whole situation and have fun with it. And this is a great group of people, and they all get it, and they watch our content, and they have fun with it, and they all want to be a part of it, and they send me videos. But you got to go in there with knowing that, hey, if I'm going to try and create content, I'm going to look a little bit silly sometimes. And dude, I still suffer with that. If I'm in a setting, I do content for RTR vehicles on the regular. And I mean, there's at these FD events or these SEMA events, I mean, you guys can attest to it. There's people everywhere. But I'm picking up a camera and smiling and talking into it, walking around. Like, I'm so self-conscious still to this day about this. But you turn that off, you say it's go time, and you just do it. And that's what you got to do with anything in life. This podcast is really dedicated to social media and what it is we do within it. But we're going to start diving into more automotive stuff, work-life balance, a lot of things. So please make sure that you stay tuned, whether you're watching us here on YouTube or you're listening to us on Spotify or wherever you can find your podcasts. Make sure to follow Isaac Godinez at _Turtle Media_ on Instagram. You can find Jose at YesWayJose. That is yes_Jose. Wait, sorry. Let me back that up. Yes_way_Jose.JPG on Instagram. And an easier one to say, Tirado Racing on Instagram. You can find myself as at J_Dub_Racing on Instagram. And you can find links to all of our YouTubes on there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until the next one, this has been Weekend Media.